Some horror games hit harder when you're alone, the kind that get in your head and make you feel uneasy the whole time you're playing. Here are the 20 horror games you should only play alone at night. This is the kind of horror game you should only play alone at night because it relies heavily on silence and tension instead of loud scares. You're dropped into an abandoned moon base where everything feels shut down and forgotten. Gameplay focuses on slow, careful movement and awareness. You explore tight corridors, interact with old terminals, and deal with security robots that patrol the station. These robots aren't just there for show. They react to sound and movement, so rushing or being careless can get you caught fast. You're not meant to fight head-on. Instead, you watch patterns, stay quiet, and choose when to move. What makes routine work is how empty and cold it feels. The lack of constant action gives your mind room to wander, and that's where the fear comes from. Late at night, with no distractions, this game can feel seriously uncomfortable in the best way.
We will be together forever.
It's Ghost Month, and with this being a creepy ghost story, I figured I could get an exclusive. I heard this place is haunted.
Kids these days. Nothing seems to scare them.
It's midnight.
There's a really scary ghost down there. If he hears us...
The Bridge Curse 2 is the kind of horror game that feels way more intense when you're playing alone at night. It's set inside a university linked to a dark urban legend, where strange rituals, missing students, and restless spirits are all tied together. Gameplay has clear mechanics you need to pay attention to. You're exploring buildings, solving puzzles, managing items, and reacting to enemies that don't all behave the same way. Some spirits can be distracted, some need specific actions or tools to deal with, and others force you to move carefully and plan your route. You're not just walking and hiding, you're actively reading situations and using the mechanics the game gives you to survive. What makes The Bridge Curse 2 stand out is how it mixes tension with interaction. Played late at night, it's the kind of horror that stays focused and uncomfortable in a really effective way. Amenti is a horror game that really gets in your head when you play it alone at night. You're part of an expedition exploring an ancient Egyptian tomb, and pretty quickly it's clear that something has gone very wrong. The tomb feels tight, dark, and hostile, like it was never meant to be opened in the first place. Gameplay has actual mechanics you need to think about. You're exploring narrow tunnels, managing light sources, solving environmental puzzles, and reacting to threats when they appear. There are moments where you're forced to confront danger directly, not just avoid it, so timing and positioning matter. You can't rush through areas blindly. The game pushes you to move carefully and read what's happening around you. What makes Amenti work is the setting. Tight spaces, limited visibility, and constant pressure make every step feel risky. Total Chaos is the kind of horror game that feels uncomfortable in a quiet way, especially if you're playing alone at night. You wake up on a foggy island with no clear answers, no map, and no idea what's really happening. Gameplay is slow and tense. You explore dark buildings, scavenge for supplies, and fight only when you really have to. Ammo is limited, and every encounter can go wrong fast. Most of the time, you're better off avoiding enemies and listening carefully to your surroundings. The story unfolds little by little through notes, environments, and strange events. You're not spoon-fed answers. The more you explore, the more disturbing the island's past becomes, and the less you trust what's real. It messes with your head without relying on cheap jump scares. This is absolutely a game you should play alone at night. It's the kind that crawls under your skin and stays there.
And yet here you are, dragging yourself deeper. It feels familiar, doesn't it?
Daddy's coming. We need to go. We need to go now!
It's okay. It's okay. It's me. I know you didn't mean to hurt me.
You shouldn't have done that! It fucking hurts!
Resident Evil 7 is the kind of horror game that feels way more intense when you're alone and it's quiet around you. You play as Ethan Winters, heading into a rundown house in rural Louisiana to look for his missing wife. It sounds simple, but the moment you step inside, everything feels wrong. Gameplay is slow and personal because it's all in first person. You're checking corners, solving small puzzles, and trying to survive with very limited ammo. Sometimes it's smarter to run or block than to shoot, and that keeps the tension high the whole time. The story slowly reveals what's really going on with the Baker family and why this place is so messed up. This is absolutely a game you should play alone at night. With headphones on, every footstep, every sudden noise feels way too close. Resident Evil 7 isn't just scary, it's uncomfortable in the best way. The Beast Inside is one of those horror games that really gets to you when you're playing alone at night. You move into this quiet house out in the countryside, thinking it's going to be a fresh start, and instead it slowly turns into something you don't trust at all. Gameplay is mostly about exploring and figuring things out. You're searching rooms, solving puzzles, reading notes, and trying to connect the dots. The game jumps between two different time periods, and that's where things start getting unsettling. You're not constantly being chased, but when danger shows up, it hits harder because you've been calm for too long. The story unfolds at a slow pace, letting the tension build naturally. You start realizing that what happened in the past is bleeding into the present, and the more you learn, the worse it gets. It messes with your expectations without throwing jump scares at you every minute.
See this? Something ain't right.
Please remain calm. There is nothing to fear.
The Callisto Protocol really hits when you're playing it alone at night. You wake up in a high-security prison out in space, and within minutes, everything falls apart. Lights go out, alarms start blaring, and you're suddenly trying to survive in a place that's completely out of control. The whole setting feels tight and claustrophobic, which makes every step uncomfortable. The gameplay is very up close. You're not standing back picking enemies off. You're dodging, swinging, and fighting things right in front of you. Ammo is limited, healing takes a second, and every fight feels like it could go wrong fast. Even walking through a hallway feels tense because something can jump you at any time. The Callisto Protocol isn't trying to be subtle. It's intense, brutal, and designed to keep you on edge the whole time. The Mortuary Assistant puts you in a situation that already feels wrong before anything scary even happens. You're working the night shift at a funeral home. Then little things start to feel off. A noise behind you, a light that wasn't flickering before. And suddenly, you're paying way more attention to your surroundings than your work. What makes the gameplay hit is how normal it feels at first. You're following real embalming steps, checking notes, moving bodies, staying focused, and that's exactly when the game messes with you. The story doesn't stop the game to explain itself. It creeps in naturally through conversations, notes, and the stuff that interrupts your shifts. Each night can play out differently, so you never really know what kind of experience you're about to get. That unpredictability keeps you tense the entire time.
I suffer no bondage but this rotting, weak, pathetic corpse. Look at me! Look at this pitiful flesh I am service to. But this body is no longer mine.
Blair Witch is one of those games that feels way creepier the quieter your room is. You play as Ellis, a former cop who heads into the Black Hills forest to help look for a missing kid. At first, it just feels like a search through the woods. Then things start getting weird, and the forest clearly doesn't want you there. The gameplay is mostly about exploring and paying attention. You're walking through trees that all look the same, following sounds, checking your surroundings, and trying not to get turned around. You've got a camera and a flashlight, and both actually matter as you go deeper. Your dog Bullet is with you the whole time, and honestly, he feels like the only thing keeping you grounded. The story slowly shifts from a simple search into something more personal. Memories, guilt, and strange visions start mixing in, and it gets harder to tell what's real and what's in Ellis's head.
Sure you're doing fine?
Jess, I swear, there's something really messed up going on in these woods. Memories? Bad memories. What the hell? Jess, you there? I think I'm starting to lose it.
To me. Worthless.
Jess?
Worthless.
Jess!
This transformation, it's remarkable. Homecoming will be truly divine.
There's still a way out for us. But we don't have much time.
Dead Space Remake drops you straight into a bad situation and never really lets you breathe. You're Isaac Clarke, stepping onto a massive mining ship that's gone dark, and within minutes it's clear the place is a disaster. The gameplay makes great use of the space setting. You move through zero-gravity areas, float between sections of the ship, and fight enemies that can come at you from any direction. Ammo is limited, so every shot matters, and combat feels tense instead of heroic. The story comes together naturally as you explore. You find audio logs and small details that explain what happened to the crew, but nothing stops the game to spell it out for you. You learn the truth while trying to stay alive, which makes it hit harder. Dead Space Remake isn't about quick scares. It's about constant pressure that makes you feel trapped from start to finish. Remothered Tormented Fathers is the kind of horror game that makes you nervous just walking into a room. You play as Rosemary Reed, investigating the disappearance of a young girl inside an old, quiet house. It starts slow and calm, but something feels off right away, like you're not supposed to be there. Gameplay is all about stealth and tension. You're not fighting monsters head-on. Instead, you're hiding, sneaking, locking doors, and trying not to make noise. Enemies react to sound, so even knocking something over can get you caught. The story slowly unfolds through exploration and weird encounters. The more you dig, the darker it gets, mixing family secrets, obsession, and psychological horror. Nothing is explained clearly at first, which keeps you guessing and uncomfortable the whole way through. This is absolutely a game you should play alone at night, with headphones on.
Pardon me, I forgot my manners. Please sit down.
Tormented Souls feels like stepping into an old-school horror game, and that's exactly why it works so well at night. You play as Caroline Walker, waking up inside this creepy, abandoned mansion while looking for a pair of missing twins. You don't get much context at first, which makes everything feel more uncomfortable from the start. The gameplay keeps things slow and tense. You're exploring dark hallways, solving puzzles, managing limited ammo, and deciding when it's better to avoid enemies instead of fighting them. The fixed camera angles make it harder to see what's ahead, and that uncertainty adds a lot to the tension. The story unfolds little by little as you move deeper into the mansion. Notes, strange rooms, and unsettling discoveries start to paint a darker picture of what happened there. The game doesn't rush you, and that slow burn makes the horror stick.
What the hell is going on here? Who is filming these atrocities?
Martha is Dead is the kind of horror game that feels heavy the moment you start it. You play as a young woman who returns home during World War II and discovers her twin sister has died under strange circumstances. Gameplay is mostly about exploring and paying attention. You're walking through rooms, checking objects, solving small puzzles, and uncovering clues about what really happened. The tension comes from being alone with your thoughts, while the environment keeps pushing you into uncomfortable situations. The story goes deeper the more you play. It mixes grief, family secrets, and psychological horror in a way that feels grounded but disturbing. Sometimes you're not even sure if what you're seeing is real, and that uncertainty is a big part of why the game works. Martha is Dead, it's about atmosphere, and a story that stays in your head long after you stop playing.
To make that pain go away.
How can love also be so bad?
This is something. The girl's body was never found. Since then, the spirit of the girl, known as the White Lady, wanders restlessly in search of relief from her eternal suffering.
Graveyard Shift is one of those horror games that feels simple at first, then slowly starts messing with you. You're working a late-night job, doing basic tasks, cleaning up, checking rooms, nothing dramatic. But the longer you're there, the more things feel off. The building gets quieter, the lights feel harsher, and you start noticing stuff that definitely wasn't there before. Gameplay is very straightforward, and that's what makes it work. You're just doing your job, moving from one task to the next, paying attention to your surroundings. There isn't a big, loud story dump. Instead, the game lets the environment tell the story. Small details, strange events, and subtle changes make you question what's real and what isn't. Graveyard Shift proves you don't need monsters everywhere to make a horror game work. Sometimes just being alone on the job is enough. Karma: The Dark World throws you into a place that feels wrong almost immediately. You wake up in a bleak, broken world where reality doesn't fully make sense, and the more you move forward, the more you feel like something is watching you. Gameplay leans into exploration and puzzle solving. You're walking through distorted environments, interacting with strange objects, and trying to understand the rules of a world that keeps shifting. There's no constant fighting. Most of the tension comes from not knowing what's real and what's about to change when you turn around. The game slowly pulls you into a dark psychological space. You're uncovering fragments of memory, identity, and trauma, and nothing is explained clearly at first. Karma: The Dark World isn't loud or flashy. It's designed to mess with your head when the room around you is completely quiet.
What happened to me? Who am I?
Hellseed is one of those horror games that feels uneasy from the moment you start playing. You're alone inside a strange house, trying to figure out what happened, while the place slowly starts turning against you. Lights flicker, doors open on their own, and the silence feels way too heavy, especially if you're playing late at night. Most of the time, you're just walking, looking around, and trying to understand what changed. A door that was open is now closed. A room feels different when you come back. The game messes with your sense of space, and that's where the tension comes from. You're not scared because something jumps out. You're scared because you're waiting for it to happen. This game comes from Profanum Games, an indie developer that clearly focuses on slow psychological horror. You can tell they care more about mood and atmosphere than cheap scares, and it works. Poppy Playtime looks colorful and harmless at first, and that's exactly why it works. You walk into an abandoned toy factory that should feel playful, but instead it feels empty in a really unsettling way. Machines are still on, tapes are lying around, and it feels like everyone left in a hurry, or didn't leave at all. The gameplay keeps things simple but tense. You solve light puzzles, restore power, and move deeper into the factory while using the grab pack to interact with the environment. There's not much fighting here. Most of the fear comes from moving forward when you don't really want to. especially when hallways get tighter and the silence gets louder. The story is delivered through VHS tapes and environmental clues. You slowly learn what happened to the workers and why the toys aren't just toys anymore. The game doesn't explain everything, which keeps you curious and uneasy at the same time.
You're in grave danger. She's watching your every move. So you better be careful. Mommy doesn't like guests. It's been so long.
Signalis is one of those horror games that feels way more intense when you're alone at night with the lights off. You play as Elster, an android searching for someone she lost, and pretty quickly you end up trapped in a cold, broken facility where nothing feels stable. The visuals are simple, but the atmosphere hits hard. It feels lonely, quiet, and constantly uncomfortable. Gameplay is classic survival horror. Fixed camera angles, limited inventory, scarce ammo, and puzzles that make you stop and think. You can't fight everything, so you're often choosing what enemies to deal with and what to avoid. That pressure builds slowly, and it makes even small encounters stressful. The story is fragmented on purpose. You don't get clear answers. You get notes, symbols, distorted memories, and strange images that slowly connect the more you play. Visage feels like one of those games where the house itself is messing with you. At first, you're just walking around, opening doors, turning on lights, and trying to understand where you're supposed to go. Then things start changing. Rooms don't stay the same, lights go out on their own, and suddenly, the house feels hostile, even when nothing is happening. Gameplay revolves around managing a few key mechanics. You have to watch your sanity, keep track of light sources, and pay attention to what you interact with. Certain actions can trigger events, so moving too fast or ignoring warnings can make things worse. There are ways to respond when danger shows up, but they require timing and awareness, not brute force. What makes Visage stand out is how patient it is. The game gives you space to breathe, then slowly tightens the pressure. Silent Hill 2 Remake starts with a simple but unsettling setup. James Sunderland comes back to Silent Hill after receiving a letter from his wife, even though she's been dead for years. That alone is enough to make the whole trip feel wrong, and the town doesn't waste time proving it. Gameplay keeps things grounded and tense. You're exploring narrow streets, apartments, hospitals, and other closed-in spaces while managing limited resources. Combat isn't flashy or fast. You swing, aim, reload, and move carefully, because getting careless usually ends badly. Even walking into a room feels risky when you don't know what's waiting inside. This is the kind of horror game that works best when you're alone and focused. Silent Hill 2 Remake isn't about loud scares. It's about emotion, and slowly realizing the town is reacting to James as much as he's reacting to it.
Run! I just want to get my Mary back.
It doesn't matter if you're smart, dumb, ugly, pretty. It's all the same with you. And a corpse can't laugh.
Stay with me. Don't leave me alone again. You're supposed to take care of me.